Hi everyone. Let's talk about communication gaps after the intro. Hi everyone. Assalamualaikum. Welcome back to my channel, The Nervous Speaker. I'm so glad you are here with us today because what I'm going to share with you today is so common among us, right? Especially if you are like me, chismosa, Charis. Anyway, now here's a question for you. Have you ever felt like you walked out of a conversation feeling like your words got lost in translation? You know that you have explained it so well, you talk clearly, but then you got the wrong response. And you thought to yourself, where is it coming from? You even wonder, are you even speaking the same language? Yun. Have you been into that kind of conversation? If that is common to you or you have experienced this, then you are in the right channel because today I'm going to talk about how are we going to reduce communication gaps in our communication interactions. Now, communication gaps or communication breakdown is universal. So if you have felt that, you're not alone. But here's the good thing. You can do something about it. You can bridge your way into making or crafting your message more clearly and more impactful. Here's how. Number one, talk less and listen more. Yes, you heard it right. Because communicating is not just about talking, it's about creating a space for genuine connection, right? What is the purpose of communication? To understand and be understood. But how can we understand each other if we are more focused on our response than listen to the speaker? Because let's face it, most of us, when someone is talking to us, instead of focusing on the message of the speaker, we are more focused on our response. So if you're doing that, stop it because it does not do you any good, right? So the next time you have that conversation, stick your eyes, glue your eyes towards the speaker and listen to the message. Pay attention. Do not think of other things. Do not structure your response. Just listen attentively. Trust me, it makes a lot of difference, right? Moving on. Number two, tailor your message according to your audience. This means that when you talk to someone or to an audience, you need to consider their needs first. So you ask yourself, what are their interests? What do they want to know about? What is their educational attainment? Or how do they want you to talk? Are they more flexible or do they want you to talk to them in a direct or a casual communication type? These things you need to research, right? So say for example, you talk to a stranger. It's your first time to talk to the stranger and you don't have time to research. What's the key there? Observe. So do not open your mouth unless you have observed. Just observe first and think. And, before you open your mouth and just blurt out things that you may regret later, try to observe first. And then based on that observation, go and strike that conversation. Number three, clarity matters. And we talk about clarity. They say that, and I totally agree with this. Less is more. So what do you mean by this? Try not to spit out too much details. Have you ever been on the receiving end of, say for example, of a letter or an email that is so long that you lost your patience and just stopped reading? Ganun din yun. Say, for example, you are in a conversation with a friend and this friend keeps on talking for like 10 minutes non-stop, not even giving you a chance to react or to even just say one sentence. How do you feel? You got bored, you zone out. That's also how your listeners feel if you give too much details. So, how to be clear? Use simple language. Use clear, simple language. Be very careful with using jargons or local registers that are not relatable to your audience, right? Because you do not want your audience or your listener to zone out of your interaction. Or manage your non-verbal cues. Well, I think you've heard about this. Action speaks louder than words. Our words are cheap because our audience, your audience or your listener will look closely to your nonverbal cues. And this includes facial expressions, body movements, gestures, posture, even your appearance, the way you dress. It says a lot about you. So be very careful. Say, for example, you are invited as a guest speaker. So there, it's a formal event, right? Do not go there wearing maong pants and t-shirts. Try to use, appropriate dress. Like, go there wearing a blazer. No maong pants, please. And please wear something that is really appropriate for the event. Second, you need to be very mindful. Try not to exhibit too much negative body language. Your facial expression should also be positive, which means that try not to sneer or smile pleasantly at your listeners. That's better. Because even if your message is well crafted, but if your nonverbal is negative, well, there goes your message. It has 0 points, right? Number 5, empathy. Practice empathy. What does this mean? Always remember that the core of communication is consideration. This means that when you talk to someone, you need to be empathetic. You have to consider. Being empathetic goes a long way. Think about this. Say, for example, you are talking to a group of individuals who are technologically challenged, which means they don't have knowledge or limited knowledge about technology. And you're going to talk to them about technology. And then as you are talking to them, you see them fidgeting around or you see them not really interested. So what are you going to do? Try to chunk down these complex ideas into simpler, smaller ideas, which means it's either you use the local language in explaining to them what it is that you want to tell them. Do not use English or do not use like Filipino language, but try to talk to them in English. Try to talk to them in their local language and explain it to them as simply as you can. If you will make examples, try to use examples that are relatable to them, because that way they can understand you better, right? So think based on their perspective, because you cannot just talk about things that they cannot understand, although you think that it's so easy for you based on your knowledge, but not based on their reality, right? And number 6, this is our last strategy, which is give feedback. So when I say give feedback, constructive feedback. When, for example, you are talking to someone, try to answer in a constructive way, even if the words, or say, for example, you did not understand it, try to repeat or ask in a polite manner to make her repeat the concept or the issue. Try to be always polite. In giving feedbacks, you can give constructive feedback by avoiding personal attacks, which means You give feedback on the issue, not on the person. So, say for example, you are the receiving end of feedback, which means you will be the one to receive the feedback. Do not take it personally. But when someone gives you a feedback, think of it as a sign or a step for you for growth, right? So do not take it personally. Do not think that this person is attacking you personally, but think of it that it's actually a help for you. It is a way for you to improve your craft. So there, when you give feedbacks, always be polite. Say it in a positive way. So you have heard it. We have 6 ways on how you can bridge the gap in your communication. I hope you got it all right. And try to comment and drop down your comment if you have some things that you want to add, or if you have experienced some of the strategies that I have just mentioned. Thank you so much for listening. And wabarakatuh. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh.